So while I'm pushing my kids on the swing outside, I thought I would do a labor video about my most recent baby. I didn't take any pictures or videos when I was in labor, which I regret kind of now, but it's just not where my headspace was at. Rain off! Sorry for my dog. Anyway, so the cool thing about my most recent labor is that it was a VBAC after 2 cesareans. So, if you don't know what that is, that means you had a natural delivery after having had 2 C-sections. So, I could do a whole video about why I chose to have a VBAC, or I did have a home birth. I could do a video about why I chose to have a home birth. But for this video, I think I'm just going to tell the labor and delivery story. So if anybody's interested in those types of videos, I can make those as well. So basically, my labor and delivery story with this guy starts the day after I turned 38 weeks. I was 38 weeks in one day, and I started having Braxton Hicks contractions for the first time. And I was excited because my previous 2 pregnancies, I had started Braxton Hicks at like 36, 37 weeks. And so I was like, is this baby not coming for like 42 weeks? Because I went to 39 with my first, and the Braxton Hicks started at 37. So I thought, like, you know, it's going to be at least 2 weeks from whenever I start the Braxton Hicks contraction. So I was 38 plus 1 when I started with the Braxton Hicks. I got them all night Saturday night. That was when I was 38 plus 1, like 5-10 minutes apart. But I knew they were Braxton Hicks because it was my 3rd pregnancy, and you can kind of just tell if a contraction's like doing something or not. And so yeah, so I went to sleep that night. I woke up maybe a couple times with the Braxton Hicks, but nothing too serious. I texted my doula on Sunday and let her know that I was having Braxton Hicks, and I didn't know if it was just going to die down and turn into nothing, or, you know, if it was going to be the start of something. So Sunday, the next day, I didn't have a single Braxton Hicks contraction. I'm 38 plus 2 at this point. I did not have a single Braxton Hicks contraction, but nesting is real, and I didn't think about this at the time, but that night, I washed all my kids' sheets. I did like 5 loads of laundry, and I like cleaned up my bedroom, and I wasn't thinking of it in a way of like, oh, I'm prepping for anything, and my brain was just like, why don't we do a whole bunch of laundry and clean the kids' rooms and wash their sheets and everything tonight? So that's what I did on Sunday. But yeah, not a single sign of labor, no Braxton Hicks, nothing like that. So Monday morning, I am now 38 weeks and 3 days. My 3-year-old, oh, there he is, was crying around 5 o'clock in the morning. So I heard him crying. So I got up out of bed and I went to go lay down with him in his bed. And after like 10-15 minutes of laying down with him in his bed, I got a contraction, and I was like, that doesn't feel like a Braxton Hicks contraction. That almost feels like a real contraction. So then, you know, another 10 minutes goes by, I get another one. I'm like, oh boy. He had fallen back asleep at this point. So I get up, I go into my bed, and I try to see if I can rest for another hour or 2. But they start to become a little painful. So around 6 o'clock in the morning, I wake my husband up and I say, you know, today might be baby day. Like, I'm actually getting like real contractions. And he said, okay, I guess I'm calling out of work today, because at this point it's Monday morning. So he calls out of work and he drops our son off at school at 7:30. I get in the bathtub around that same time, 7:30. I call my midwife and my doula and let them know, like, I'm pretty sure I'm in labor. Like, I think this baby's coming today. And my doula was like, all right, call me in like an hour if things pick up. So in the next hour, they start to become every 2 to 3 minutes, like 45 seconds long. I called her. I'm like, yeah, it's definitely picked up. Like, I definitely don't see labor stopping at this time. So we're around 9 o'clock in the morning at this point. So she literally lives walking distance from my house. So she hops on over, and yeah, I get out of the bathtub We pretty much just relaxed because she didn't know like how far progressed I was. She told me to call my midwife over to check me to kind of just get like a baseline of kind of where my body's at and see if the midwife needs to stay before she tells me to like do things to get labor going more, you know what I mean, without a midwife being there. So my midwife comes over around 11 o'clock in the morning and checks me and says I am a 3 to a 4. Your shoe? But she said, you know, it feels like a laboring cervix. It doesn't feel like somebody who's going to be at a 3 or 4 for like days or weeks. It feels like a laboring cervix, but it's still early labor. So I wasn't discouraged because, you know, my body was doing it. My body was doing something. So I was happy about that. And also the reason for my previous C-sections was never because I couldn't dilate. So I think that makes a big difference. Like in my brain, I knew once I started dilating, I was going to continue to dilate. I wasn't worried about that. So anyway, she leaves because she says it's still early labor, and she said to call her back at any point if it starts to pick up more, feels more intense. So at this time, my doula decided it's safe to, we went for a walk, we did some lunges, just walked around my house. We would go up and down the stairs. At this point, I called a chiropractor to come over. Oops, sorry about that. I called a chiropractor to come over, and the chiropractor adjusted me, which I think that does help. I had been getting adjustments the last 12 weeks, or I guess the last 10 weeks of pregnancy, because I went 2 weeks early. You ready to go inside? All right, we're gonna pause this. We're gonna go inside. All right, so we are inside now. The kids are eating lunch. They're having grilled cheese. Anyway, so yeah, so I get an adjustment from the chiropractor, and yeah, we stay active. My doula's telling me to drink water, reminding me to go to the bathroom, all of that stuff. So then around 2 p.m. or 3, I think 3, around 3 p.m., I'm like starting to be like, okay, I'm in a lot of pain. Like, this is starting to hurt. Whenever I would go to the bathroom, things would get like really intense, like really intense contractions. So I called my midwife back, and she said, can like we stay on the phone until you have your next contraction, and I'm gonna time it. So she times it, and she's like, you're still only at 45-second long contractions. Like, we really like to see you at least a minute long contractions for like an hour before we come back. And I said, okay, well, could I take Tylenol or anything like that? And she said, no, just go take a nap, basically. Lay down, like relax, like stop trying to, you know, walk and do lunges and all this stuff. Like, just go relax. So we listened to her, we laid down in bed. So I kind of laid on my side, and my doula, whenever I'd have a contraction, would like press on my lower back while I'm laying down in bed, and my husband was just laying down in bed next to me. And this went on for maybe an hour and a half. I think I woke up around 4:30, because I would be like in and out. Like, I would kind of doze off, and then I would have a contraction, which would obviously wake me up, and then I would doze off again. So around 4:30 in the afternoon now, I wake up, and I have the urge to go somewhere, like almost like escape. So I'm like, can we go for a walk? Like, I want to get out of bed. I just want to go somewhere, do something. And my doula's like, yeah, let's go for a walk. So we get up and we start to walk down the street. Like, every time I'm taking a step, it feels like I'm having a contraction, like a really bad contraction. And I was like, I can't walk down the street. So my doula looks at my husband and goes, it's time to call the midwife back. Like, I don't care if her contractions are not a full minute long, because I don't think they ever actually hit a full minute long. Like, it's time. So they call the midwives back, and my doula says, you know, why don't you get in the tub and relax, see if we can slow this down a little bit. So I get in the tub, and it's 5 o'clock at this point, and I tell my doula that I start to feel the urge to push. And my midwife lives about an hour away, so she's not coming until like 5:45. So I've got like 45 minutes until she gets there. She says, you know, why don't we get out of the tub? Because, you know, sometimes the tub can relax you, but sometimes like sitting upright and everything like that can make labor progress faster. So she said, let's go lay down. Before I go to lay down, the bath water turns kind of like yellowy, and my husband and my doula like saw it happen. They're like, we're pretty sure your water broke. So I get up and I go in, I lay down in bed. And about 10-20 minutes into laying down in bed, I'm breathing through the contractions because I do kind of feel like a little bit of the urge to push. So I'm just like, instead of pushing. At one point though, I feel something start to come out, and I start to scream to my doula that my baby's head is crowning. It's like, we gotta call 911, his head's crowning. And it turns out, which I didn't even know this was an option or like a thing, it turns out my sac, I don't know if it was like, sometimes you have something called a 4-bag, like sometimes you have like 2 bags of water. I don't know if it's like a 4-bag that had popped in the tub, because when I was laying down in bed, my water sac came out and it wasn't broken. And I did not know that your water could come out of you not broken. So I'm literally laying in bed, and it felt like a head because it's legit like a sack that came out. And I'm just laying in bed with my water in a sack hanging between my legs. And my doula was like, can I take a picture and send it to your midwife? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, it's just your water. Like, this happens sometimes. Sometimes your water doesn't fully break. It stays in the sack. And I was like, that is so interesting. Anyway. So I keep trying to feel it because I'm like, what the heck is this? And my husband was like, stop touching it. Like, just leave it alone. Stop touching it. I'm like, you sure it's not a head? He's like, we're sure it's not a head. So I'm like that for about half an hour. I'm still breathing through these contractions, like not really trying to fight the urge to push, but like definitely feeling the pressure. So yeah. Sorry, my daughter's talking to me. So then my midwife walks through the door at 5:49 p.m. and I look at her and I say, can I push now? And she doesn't even check me or anything. She says, if you feel the urge to push, you go ahead and push. And I do one push and his head comes out, and the sac breaks at this point when his head comes out. And then she tells me to wait a couple minutes, wait for the next contraction. I do another push and his body and my water comes flying out. And I forgot to mention that when my midwife came back, she said, oh, do you want to go in the tub now? Because I plan to have a water birth. And I said, no, I am not getting out of this bed and going into the tub. Like, we are way too far along for that. So I had him in my bed. So my water obviously broke on my bed because it broke like when I was delivering him. And we had a waterproof mattress protector on the bed. So my midwife and my husband later, after the placenta came out and all that, and I went in the shower, they took off the sheets and the mattress protector to see if it actually worked. And there was nothing on the mattress, and it did work. So my mattress was totally fine. Even the mattress protector, everything, like we washed it with hydrogen peroxide and everything was totally fine. And if you guys want, I can make another video about prepping for a home birth. Like I said, I just wanted this video to be my labor and delivery story, and I could do other videos about other like related topics if anybody wants that. But yeah, so it was 2 pushes really, and he was 7 pounds, 3 ounces, 20 inches tall. And yeah, the midwife just stayed for a couple hours. It took about 20 minutes for my placenta to come out. Came out, I think she did tug on it a little bit because I was getting a little frustrated at this point. Like, I just wanted it out. And then I immediately took a shower. I know you're supposed to do like the whole golden hour and like skin to skin for an hour, but I was like, I need a shower. Like, and I think because I had had C-sections before and I was used to being numb from the waist down and all that, I just wanted to get up and move around. So I took a shower and then I fed him, and yeah, they tucked us into bed and we went to bed in our own bed that night. And then when my kids woke up the next morning, they had a new sibling in the house. And yeah, that is my successful VBAC after 2 C-section story.